Welcome to the weekly tasting. My name is Jennifer Simonetti Bryan, Master of Wine, and we are talking about Cru of Beaujolais. Here we're talking about the grape variety Gamay. And to put it into perspective for you, Gamay is usually pitted against Pinot Noir. They're both at the same kind of end of the spectrum. So if you put all of red wine on a spectrum, and if Pinot Noir is like skim milk and Cabernet Sauvignon is like heavy cream, we're talking about skim milk, maybe whole milk 2% with the grape variety of Gamay. And it has a lot of similarities in texture to Pinot Noir, so I can understand why people might mistake one for the other, but the fruit character is very different. Gamay itself is a very old Burgundian grape variety. In fact, it was in the first documentation of it was from 1395. And to put that into perspective for you, that was 50 years before the birth of Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, so that's just the documentation, but they've been making wine in this region for over 2,000 years, since the time of Julius Caesar. But let's go through these wines, and I know you're going to really enjoy them. The first wine we have here is the Bruys. Bruys is Cru of Beaujolais, but it is the largest of the Cru of Beaujolais. Now, remember, it's the best of this region, and in terms of style, Bruys tends to be on the lighter end of the spectrum, and you can taste it. It's delicate. And this is a classic example. There's no oak in here, so all you're getting is grape, Gamay, and terroir. And in the soil, there's probably a bit more limestone in here, which adds a little bit more acidity, and you're gonna get that in this wine. On the palate, it's a lot of light raspberry, some black cherry, a little bit of granite, although I don't know if it's because of the soil, I'm, got that in my head, and a touch of spice. But you're gonna really enjoy this wine with, let's say, a chicken salad, not like a chicken salad sandwich, but a salad with pieces of grilled chicken or turkey in it, or beets. Beets would go really well with this wine, but something more on the light and delicate side, something that won't overpower it. And I think you'll really find that it'll bring out a lot of those pure raspberry tones in the wine. The second wine we have is the Juinas, or Juliénas. This is a wine region, and it's the most northern of the Cru of Beaujolais, and it's named after Julius Caesar. They've been making wine in this region since the time of Julius Caesar, so like 2,000 years ago, and it was named after Julius Caesar, so a nice piece of trivia there. In terms of style, the Juinas, in comparison to the Bruys, the first wine, it is definitely weightier and a little bit more robust, and that's classic for this region. And this vintage is 2015 for this wine, and I've been told that is a lawn chair vintage. What does that mean? It means that the winemaker is sitting on a lawn chair because it's so darn easy, because the wine practically made itself. It was a great, sunny, dry, warm vintage, and you could actually smell that in the wine. It's a bit riper fruit than the Bruys, which is a 2016. And so because of that weight, I mean, you could put it with a grilled chicken salad or a rotisserie chicken. Actually, because it's got that richer weight, you could put it with a rotisserie chicken. I buy rotisserie chickens all the time from like Whole Foods or Costco, and I can barely, contain myself. Even when I get home, just rip off the, chicken legs there, and they're so darn good. But that would go great with this wine, and it'll bring out some more of those raspberry tones. Also, what you get with this wine, with the raspberry and the spice and the minerality, you're gonna get a little bit of a floral note in there as well. So see if you can find that, because that is very typical for this region. The third wine in this group is probably my favorite, or one of my favorites in this flight, because of its perfume. This is much more aromatic than the others, and it also has the same amount of weight that you see in the Juinas. So it's not quite the Bruys, it's a little bit weightier than the Bruys, but it's not as big as the Morgon. This is the Chenas. Chenas is the smallest of all the Cru of Beaujolais, and the name comes from chêne, which is the vast oak forest that used to be in this area before they, took it all down and planted vineyards. But also this wine was the favorite of King Louis XIII, and he wanted this wine all the time. It was his favorite. So if you're watching Netflix and you're looking at Versailles, you might want to have this wine along with it because his dad had it on the table all the time. But when I taste this wine, I get a lot of more raspberry intensity. There's more concentration in here than the other wines, and there's a bit of a grip there too. There's, I think it's because there's sandier soils here, there's better drainage. And what does that mean? Why do we care? It means smaller berries. So the smaller berries means more skin to pulp ratio, which makes it more dense and concentrated for a wine. So that's what Chenas is. It's very typical for Chenas, and I get some more grip, more spice. It's kind of chewy, this is absolutely delicious. And you may want to think of putting this with like a beef tartare. It's got a bigger weight to it. I mean, not like a filet mignon. You're not going to put this with, you know, big grilled steak, but leaning towards beef tartare or something along those lines, it really would do very well with this wine. The last wine we have here is Morgon. It's probably one of the most famous for its high quality. Again, another cru of Beaujolais, and for this wine, it's the most robust I find, particularly of this flight, but of cru of Beaujolais in general, except for perhaps Moulin à Vent. Morgon has some very distinct terroir and soil characteristics. So it's got not only granite or decomposing granite and schist, but also some volcanic influences. So what does that do to the wine? It's more robust. It's bigger. So if you put the spectrum of all of Beaujolais on one spectrum, this would be the heavy cream of Beaujolais, not all of red wine, but of Beaujolais. So it's richer, it's bigger, and you get actually some notes of some earthiness in here and some woodsy kind of notes, in addition to some toast, and I get some vanilla on here. So this one's seen a little bit of oak. So if you like that, you're gonna really love this wine. In terms of food and wine pairing, well, you know, rotisserie chicken definitely will do, and maybe even fried chicken would do. It's got enough weight to it that it can handle that, you know, fat from the fried chicken and French fries. But I also think that you could put duck with this. The reason why I say duck is duck has a lot more fat in it than like chicken breast, and fat is a flavor carrier, and that would be perfect for this wine. So it would bring out some of those raspberry and black cherry notes that are already concentrated in here, and it would carry the flavor even longer. But this is a beautiful wine, and it's not as perfumed as the Chenas, but it is a big boy for the cru of Beaujolais, and I'm hoping you're liking it. And if you don't see a difference between these wines, go back to the Bruy. Compare and contrast these two together, and you'll see a big difference. And that's the only way to learn about wine, is by comparing and contrasting. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed these wines, and I really want to know what you think. So put your comments in the comments area below, or you can contact me on Twitter at Jedi Wine Master, and let me know what you think of these. And if you recall, you can get a discount for first timers if you put in the promo code Hello Jedi. And if you liked any of these wines from this pack that you bought, you can always purchase them again. So make sure you let the weekly tasting know if you like them, so that, you know, you can go actually get more of them. I may actually get some of that Chenas. But until next time, cheers.